Well, folks, it's business as usual for the lamestream media. As rioters go basically house to house, destroying anything and everything they can, if they're not handed piles of money and praise heaped on them for rioting, it was bound to happen that someone would defend their home. It happens to be the McCluskeys in St. Louis, Missouri. Highway Patrol police took ages to get there if they were ever sent. The governor will not even call them. This is a very, very nice house. And the rioters broke down the gate. Luckily, the McCluskeys have a good security system. They were notified when the gate was breached. And they were outside. Mr. McCluskey with a short barrel rifle, I believe it was a short barrel rifle. Mrs. McCluskey with a handgun, making it very clear that if the rioters attacked them, they would defend themselves. Naturally, the Clinton News Network, MSLSD, and the rest of them, they're all portraying it as racist homeowners threaten peaceful protesters. You're not a peaceful protester if you break down a person's property. Okay? They weren't peaceful protesters who all but invaded Tucker Carlson's home while he wasn't there, so his wife was terrorized. They're not peaceful protesters who broke and entered the McCluskey's property. They're not peaceful protesters who burned down Wendy's or kicked the police out of an 8-block area of Seattle where now they've had 5 shootings and they won't let the police in to even collect the bodies. I honestly hope that Chaz, Chop, whatever, results in so many lawsuits against the city of Seattle, Mayor Jenny Durkin, Governor Jay Inslee as well, listed separately as people who are responsible as well as the city, that they resign in shame, and the business owners who managed to survive CHOP are compensated fairly. They're being terrorized by rioters who have seized power of an 8-block or more radius. These people are destroying the concrete roadblocks so the police can't come in with the right equipment to move them. And it honestly, in my mind, will end one of two ways. One, they'll turn on each other, and it will be a brawl until you have one person standing ruling nothing. And then police can just take that person down with a taser. Or the military will have to end it. And trust me, when the military is called, they're not there to arrest. They're not there to subdue and take into custody. They are there to end the threat. Look back to their oath of enlistment. To defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It takes a lot for the military to be called to act within this country. I know. It's not happened in my lifetime. But this situation can easily spiral out of control. And if it does, Seattle will ultimately be a spark to a powder keg that will lead to hundreds of thousands of people in military custody facing a military tribunal, not a civilian judge and a jury. You don't want that, because that leaves you in one of two places if found guilty. Fort Leavenworth, Kentucky, or Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. This is why my parents and I stressed to my nephew that we don't want him going even to the peaceful protests. Because all it takes is one person at that peaceful protest to throw something at a police officer, and every single person there is going to be in jail. They are going to be. And then you have to prove you weren't involved. And it is very hard to prove a negative. It's all but impossible to prove a negative. I don't agree with, and I do not like this whole quarantine, social distancing, stay at home crap. I didn't do much after work before all this. I tended to come home, feed my chickens, play with my dogs, come inside, read until about midnight, go to bed, lather, rinse, repeat. Weekends I would work on my car, or I would help my parents, and we would work on something on the land, fixing the chicken coop or whatnot. Sometimes we would go run errands together, or just, go drive. My parents and I love to just drive out through the country. It's gorgeous around where we are. And all within about an hour. I could drive if I got up 8 o'clock in the morning, I could drive for 8 hours. Drive all over this state. See some amazing landscapes. Be home by 4 o'clock. If I just kept driving for 6 hours, then turned around and hit the highways, I'd be home by, 7, 8 o'clock at night at the latest. And that's with a stop to eat and all the rest. And there are days we just do that. Not so much anymore, because there's nothing to do. I mean, granted, like I said, my life hasn't really changed in the respect of what I do after work. For those of you who've been with me for quite a while, I tend to record these things after work. For those who've been with me since I really started posting, you'll have seen the evolution, where I started in my bedroom, where it's me and you see the bedroom wall behind me and I'm sitting at my desk and I'm just recording right there, to where the computer is now without the green screen, where you saw the mess behind me, to putting in the green screen, now putting in a light, so that, as I know, as a photographer, thought I saw something on it, sorry, I do have ADD, but as a photographer, I know lighting is just integral to a good video or still. So I was able to install a light. And this is what I do. I work. I help my clients. I help my coworkers as much as I can for 8.5 hours a day. Of course, I take lunch. And then after work, I read and make videos. And I watch YouTube and I watch things online, or I play my Switch. I mean, my life hasn't really changed. I'm not really an extrovert. I have a few close friends, and I would love to be able to, go to the bar with any one of them, or two of them, or three of them, and depending on the group, sit and discuss video games, or comic books, or politics with some of them over a couple of beers, but we can't do that right now. I'd invite them out here, but I live in a shed until I get it done. So, on weekends, I go to the grocery store. And my options are getting less and less right now, because more and more are requiring masks. And I don't like that. I see what happened in St. Louis, where you see people rioting, and they're not, to a person, all wearing masks. We saw the riots in Tulsa. Protests in Tulsa. They weren't wearing masks. But of course, it's the Trump rally that was bad. You're free to riot and burn things down all you want. Don't go to church. Oh, it's dangerous there. COVID is woke. It only exists in movie theaters, restaurants, bars, and churches. It doesn't exist in liquor stores, weed dispensaries, or the grocery store. So you can go to those places, they're fine. But I've talked to my doctor, I've reached out to several, some of them that I don't know as a person, never met them. And I asked them, I said, okay, I am not sick. I have a smoker's cough, and I know I should quit smoking, and I'm working on it. Oddly enough, making these videos help because I don't smoke while I'm doing this. But I don't have the cough that is supposed to come with this. I don't have a fever. I don't have shortness of breath. I don't have fatigue. None of it. So I have none of the symptoms. I honestly don't know if I've even been exposed. I live in a smaller town. I work for a smaller company. I shop at the same place with the same people. And I don't know that my town has had a single case of COVID-19. I know that my neighboring town only just now had their first case diagnosed. This is June, so we're 6+ months past when China couldn't keep hiding it. We're 3 months past quarantine, and my tiny little neighboring town only just now had their first case. Ironically, that's where I shop, and I've had no issues. So I asked them, should I wear a mask? To a person, and this is 10 plus medical doctors, combined with over 500 years of experience. Because I made sure to reach out to younger and older doctors. My doctor has been practicing medicine since before I was alive. He was my parents' doctor when I was a child, and now he is mine. But I reached out to doctors like him, and I reached out to younger doctors, and in between. And to a person, they said, if you are not suffering any symptoms, and you can, with reasonable confidence, say you have not been exposed to anyone who had it or had been exposed to someone who did, you should not wear a mask. Wearing a mask, and I've said this before, but I will again use the lesson. Wearing a mask concentrates everything you exhale right here, right at your mouth and your nose. Now, this mask is not the right size for me, but it works as an example. When you breathe in one of these, you're going to feel the heat right here, right around you. I actually do get short of breath when wearing one of these. Now, granted, I have some of the paper masks. I do have a bandana somewhere that, if I have to go into my actual town and shop where they're requiring a mask, I'll wear one. But only as minimally as I'm required. And there's nothing I cannot get in my neighboring town that I can't get in my town. And if I have to eventually drive the 20-30 minutes into a neighboring county where they have said they will not require masks, I will. I know it's not a problem. My parents, when I was a child, would drive, I believe, about 30 to 45 minutes from our small little town into the big town where they could go to like the big box stores and get better prices and all that. They had the good butchers as well. We would buy, a half side or a quarter side of beef and all this other stuff. So we would have just a solid wall or solid floor of ice chests. And we would just do all of our grocery shopping for the week or for the 2 weeks, whatever, while there. That left what most people see as their common and recurring and often trips: milk, bread, eggs. Granted, we would buy, I think, 3 or 4 dozen eggs, and that would last us a week because it was my 2 siblings and my parents, and eventually my grandfather living with us. We ate a lot of eggs. I still do. But bread goes fast, and so does milk. So we would go into our store for that. But every Saturday or every other Saturday, we would drive 40 minutes. And we wouldn't stop anywhere on the way back. They would make sure everybody went to the bathroom, no drinks on the way home, get a sip of water at the water fountain. We're driving straight home and putting all this away. My dad and I would get out, and my sister and my brother and my mom, we would all start trooping in with all the bags while my mother, and sometimes my sister with her, or my brother, would start putting everything in the refrigerator and everything in the cupboards and all that. Generally, it was everybody unpacking bags onto the bar and my mother putting things away, because she is phenomenal at organizing, whereas my dad and I were the pack mules, and my brother and sister were children, just like I was. So we would just do that. And none of the food ever went bad. For crying out loud. I grew up in a time when frying things was seen as the way to go. I drank from a water hose. We didn't have water filters or softeners on our water faucets. None of it. And we also didn't have protests or politicians telling us to disarm. But I've rambled. I've run far afield here. This is really kind of my mental clean out, if you will. I want to thank you for sticking with me through all of the twists and turns and tangents. And I do have Last Time Episode 3 airing this Wednesday, 10 a.m. We're starting to get into the really the meat of what's going to lead up to the formation of this country. We've looked at the greed of European royalty, sending their explorers to find spices and gold. The greed of the Portuguese, starting and maintaining the slave trade as long as they could. We've looked at the early days of the colonies, where you start Plymouth, Massachusetts Bay, ultimately come south, get all the way down south, and people realize I can have 100 acres. It's cotton or corn or cattle, whatever. And ultimately, we're going to see a lot of that start changing in the next few videos, where we're going to see as technology comes in and as cities change, when we get to that point in time where electricity is everywhere, no more candles, all of these things. And this is the run-up to the birth of a nation. So I hope you'll stick with me for that, for sure. That is every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central Time, U.S. Videos like this, you'll want to make sure you watch for them. And let me know what you think. We're not here to scream and yell like toddlers, so be civil. Make sure to stay civil. We're here to discuss, dissent, and debate, not scream and yell. Make sure to like and share the video so that we widen the conversation and so the YouTube algorithm is effective. And also, please remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you're aware of all new content as it posts like this. Until next time.